Live in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. Andy, it's NFL season's over. Tennis was great fun for a couple weeks there, but that's a wrap. They're into
we're into small like you're into the hardcores.
So not playing much of that. Yeah. NBA is going swimmingly, but I've had the itch to gamble lately, and I've been doing it trading cryptocurrency, and I've been doing it a lot. And holy crap, if this isn't a very humble lesson in when you're getting started, how difficult things can be. I've learned a lot of very valuable lessons in the last 48 hours. BTC had a massive drawdown last week, peaked with just hope and despair, desperation and despair over the weekend, bounced back finally today. But I've devoted a lot of my kind of free time, a lot of my personal time trying to understand this better. We are a year removed from the Evergreen podcast we did 1 year ago, exactly 1 year ago. I looked this up, by the way. It was like the first one.
Really?
That was Bitcoin for sports betting, where we kind of talked through the concepts because it was pretty clear and obvious that, that was a useful way to move money from book to book, and that there was a lot of macro signal and a lot of talk of the upcoming halving and what that was going to do to price. And, people, we wanted people to kind of get in on the ground floor with, the potential run up in Bitcoin in terms of its price and value. And I thought we did a good podcast. And if you want to go back and listen to it, I did recently just to check and make sure we didn't say anything insanely stupid, and we didn't. So that's Evergreen podcast lives on. We'll probably say some insane, stupid stuff today. Almost certainly. Keep in mind, we are not experts. Or financial advisors. Yeah.
Whenever you tune in to a live stream on YouTube like this, or you're watching this later and the hosts are dressed up like some sort of fucked up gender reveal, you should probably realize it is not financial advice. I'm just looking at them now. We're wearing pink and blue pastels, solid. Whichever one of us stands up at the end, that's the gender reveal.
Okay.
No, I'm glad you listened to that. I didn't have time to today. I thought about that too. I was almost nervous. I'm like, did we put our foot in our mouth, say some stupid shit? I think we're pretty good at pulling the Jay Leno and just staying on the fence, not taking.
Oh yeah.
Well, the thing is, I'm not a hot take artist. I'm never going to be. I don't like to, just take hard stands on something that life is full of uncertainty. There's no value in that. Unless the people that love to be, oh look, I was right, or I was dead. It's fun to be right about some sports stuff, but even that, it's just the hard stand I'm taking on sports is I'm betting on it. I will put a few dollars on this future, or this price, or this look ahead line, and in this case, I think it's just silly to do anything like that. There's a lot of people on the internet doing that, and I think maybe that's something we should talk about too. Is you've gotten deeper into it than I have, but there are some voices worth listening to in the crypto space, in the NFT space.
Oh, sure.
And there are some people that you should probably not, just blindly, like we said, this is not investment advice. You should keep that in the back of your head when you're reading anything from anyone ever about anything, whether it's traditional investments or this or NFTs, and we'll get into that too.
I wanted to do this topic. I wanted to do basically just a Bitcoin for betting redux, having another year of experience and a lot of reading, a lot of practical experience trying to understand this space, and specifically, be part of this growth. And in the years past, when we've done these sort of evergreen topics and talked through this stuff, it's helped me kind of synthesize some of the lessons I've learned and become better at what I'm trying to do. So I'm hoping this is an example of that, because, it's crazy how easy it is when you're inexperienced to just make absolute dog shit decisions and really get yourself into trouble. And I made two of the worst trades of my entire life, bar none, on Friday. Actually, one on Thursday night when I was quite drunk, and then another one on Friday morning when I was reacting to what I did on Thursday when I was quite drunk. And it's a reminder of when I paid some tuition, I learned some hard lessons, and I think it's worthwhile to kind of get into this topic in a little bit more detail, but at the same time, kind of give a little bit of broader context to what's going on in the Bitcoin space, how it impacts those of us who are using Bitcoin, not just for sports betting, but for all kinds of stuff. There's probably a lot of people who have questions like, what is DeFi? What are altcoins? Like, is this a scam? Well, all of that stuff we'll try to touch in kind of a broad brush way today. Of course, again, we're not financial advisors. I don't have, I have, learning trial by fire here 100%. But I've learned enough. I think we can answer a lot of good questions. And then similarly, the future I think is extremely bullish, not just in the short term, but the long term here. And it would be irresponsible maybe not to at least share what our point of view is on this stuff. I mean, I know I'm in this for the long haul at this point. Like, this definitely to me feels like a sea change, and it's not small. You probably have some preconceptions about Bitcoin before even listening to this podcast, and will annoy some of you. Some of you might want, in no way, shape, or form, want to hear about this topic, or you're very curious about it and you'll find this very interesting. I'm sure this will be a polarizing podcast. There's no doubt.
Somebody in the chat here, drinking and trading, never a good mix.
Goodness, no.
Similar to betting, or I'm not gonna, because I have no idea what happened with your second trade.
I'll go through my story. Yeah.
I mean, you're pissed up, it sounds like, but I mean, it's similar to, like, I can remember years ago. I can tell you what bar I was at. Even it was Donovan's up in Minneapolis, and like, I'd bet on a couple college football games at noon, and they went to shit in a hurry. And I'd lost like every bet, and my next trade was to play online blackjack at that sports book to get that money back. I mean, after like
Classic.
17 big gingers, which is just a Jameson and ginger ale. Yeah. And that's never a good way to get your money back.
Alcohol and or emotion and or both are in the mix, you're going to make bad decisions, especially if you don't have experience doing this sort of stuff. And I learned that the hard way. But we'll get into all of this. And everything's fine, by the way. Bitcoin rallied today, and assuming that it doesn't crash by the time people listen to this podcast, it looks good.
Need ADA to pump a little here.
Oh, no, we don't. No, we do not. Although that's Suma's favorite coin. So if ADA takes over the world, Fabian Suma again was ahead of it. Anyway, let's do a little background. My background with Bitcoin. First time I ever got Bitcoin was 2015. A friend who was a Bitcoin originalist, part of the original sort of people who adopted it as internet money back in the day and were using it to, buy drugs on the internet or whatever. A guy I was really good friends with sent me a tip for a football pick. And I had to figure out how to make a wallet in order to claim that tip. And I did, and it was $5 worth of Bitcoin at the time, which by today's standard would be like probably 500, 1,000, maybe $1,000 if I had just kept it. But I was like, well, cool, a Bitcoin tip. I don't know how to sell this for the $5. I'm gonna go take it. I heard this Bitcoin sportsbook Nitrogen. I'm gonna go take my $5. I'm gonna put it in Nitrogen, and I'll play a little poker, and then I'll bet a little sports with that. And I did, and I was like, this is freaking cool. Like this is just like real money. Like, wow, like it's moving around. I sent my $5 from my tip wallet to my Nitrogen account. I got some winnings. I sent them back to my wallet. I was like, oh wow, this is for real. And this was back in 2015. And I was like, okay, this looks like a good alternative to use as a way to fund sportsbooks accounts. I wasn't thinking at the time, hey, this $50 or $100 or whatever it was thing is going to someday be worth $50,000. But I was pretty obvious the utility of it for what I was trying to do and what I was interested in doing at that time. So the next football season rolls around. I've had now a full year of getting new credit cards, because every time I was using my credit card to re-up my sportsbook accounts, it was getting hacked and getting, you know, a bunch of fraudulent charges on it.
Thanks,
and I was
Tony.
sick and tired of it. Sick and tired of it. Yes, this was Tony Book that was responsible for this, of course.
There was a rash of that, and you know, I don't really. When we say we're not financial advisors, I'm also not an expert on this. Like, I don't even know if my explanation of decentralized banking would make sense. But the fact that, you know, the transactions, things are immutable on the blockchain, and things are, it's crazy that something that has so many people that are just so anti adoption on this are just silly, you know, so angry about it, is so much better for these sort of transactions.
So much better
than the best technology that banks have been able to roll out to this point. It's hilarious because I know plenty of people who have had that same issue, It was kind of that time frame too, right? In that 2013 to 15, 16, there was a lot of that. There was a rash of that on several of these offshore accounts where people would use a credit or debit card to fund an account and they'd have issues with it. And that's or your bank shuts your damn card off because, and this was back before you just got a text saying, hey, was this you or not? And you'd say, yes, that's me. You know, like there'd be phone calls and bullshit because like, hey, why did you know, what's this $500? Because it would never be 500. It would be like $500.13 because there ought to be some weirdness to it. Well, why did you buy something for $500 in China at 10 at night? Like, or wherever the money was going through. So there was a lot of pain in the ass with that. And I think that was, you know, to kind of piggyback on you. I mean, the same thing. I didn't get a tip from, I'm assuming I know who it is. I think it's a guy down in the desert there, but I didn't get a tip. My first Bitcoin was certainly just cashing out of a book to move money. You know, the old, this book's doing good. I cannot lose a bet here, but this book's doing terrible. I haven't won a bet over here. If I'm betting football on one and basketball on another, and I just wanted to balance them out. And I made a wallet for that years ago, whatever it was, and said like, and that's even how slow Bitcoin was to process then on some of these compared to how it is now. I mean, think about how long it took to get a check or how much you would pay for a wire, whatever it's called, just a bank wiring where they charge you like $50 to get your money for there.
It's insane.
So yeah, that was the first crypto I owned. I owned it for like, 15 minutes?
15 minutes? Yeah, for sure.
Whatever. And then I sent it to the other book and I said, yeah, like you said, the utility of it, that was gorgeous to me. I just, you know, one account went up, one went down. I just balanced them out in a matter of however long it took.
Yeah, incredible. So then go through the next football season. I decided I'm going to fund my offshore with Bitcoin instead of a credit card because I'm done with this. And so I bought like 4 or 5 Bitcoin at the time. It was about $2,000 worth. And sent it to Bookmaker. They cashed it in for balance, and I was like, "Wow, that was easy. This is great." And had a great football season. I think I almost, I hit like just a spectacular ROI that year. Go to cash out in February, and I cashed out the entire bankroll, and it was less than I had deposited in terms of Bitcoin units, and that was eye-opening. I was like, wait a second. You mean I had the best football season of my life to this point? I actually, I won money and I was responsible. It was good, better. I won money in NFL and I actually have less Bitcoin than if I had just sat on it that whole time. And I was like, okay, that was like eye-opening. That made me start really paying attention. And I was like, okay, this is getting big. I go look at CoinMarketCap. You're like, whoa, there's like $50 billion of money invested in this. Like, wow, like holy crap. And you're like looking at what other people are doing with it. And you're like, holy shit, like that, look at the size of some of these transactions. And they're going through for a fee of like $20. Like, oh my God, like that's crazy. And, you kind of realize what's going on in the space. And it becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly that this is something that's going to grow and be pretty useful and pretty excellent. And so then, of course, 2017, accumulated what I could that summer, which wasn't much. But then the run up in 2017 was something else. And it goes, and we're like, I remember during the NFL season, I'm mostly playing on Nitrogen now because I don't want to cash anything out into a sports book. I only want to play in Bitcoin. And I'm like watching it go up every day. And I'm like, oh my God, we might break 10K. And then you blink and it's at 20K and you're like, whoa, what is happening? Like, this is insane. This is crazy. I had no idea.
What was the Cardinals bet? The Cardinals Lions bet.
Oh, that was
2 years later.
That was way
but still, that's a good example of when you are betting in crypto, things can get a little weird though, as far as
sure.
if you make
This year.
not so much if you're making a bet for a game this weekend, but if you're playing some future, some look ahead line like you did, or a long term bet like that, all of a sudden your risk can be, and I think that is good, maybe a good note for some people who are more risk averse or are using it in different ways. Know that if you lock in a bet on it, like a nitrogen or something, a longer term bet like that, it'd be the other way. If you were, especially if you cashed out, that's completely different, like you said, with your football wagering that season. But if you are betting actually in Bitcoin, and you're saying I'm comfortable wagering staking.
The stake is going to change price.
Yeah, you say I'm comfortable staking $200 on this bet. Know that if it's a bet that doesn't, settle for 8 months or something, you could be staking a very different amount at that point in time. So I mean, just something, everyone has their own risk profile, something to kind of take into account, because that happened to you, that you made a future bet in the summer. There was a big run up. And you're like, well, I'm betting like 3 times the amount I wanted to on this game now. And
I bet the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl for 4.5, would have plus 450, 5-1, whatever at nitrogen. And at the time, Bitcoin was 11K, and by the Super Bowl, it was like 40K. So the same sort of thing. Went 4x'd my stake on that bet. So, but whatever. This is just still just sort of kind of introductory stuff here. After the 2017 run up, though, which was pretty clearly a retail driven bubble, we got up to 20K. It fizzled out. But in that kind of in those kind of couple months after, in January and February, I definitely was like, okay, I get it now. I'm watching all the Antonopoulos videos of the Internet of Money, and this is the future of this, and like this is how it works, and this is what a miner does, and this is what this, like just reading and listening to everything I could to understand what the hell was going on. And like, in that 2 months, and I started open a couple trading accounts, Bittrex and Poloniex, and a couple. Binance was very new at the time. I had a Binance account, and it's like you can trade Bitcoins for all these other coins, and some of these guys are going up 100 times. Like this is crazy. And it was obviously gambling, but it was like this was the experience back then. And then the air came out of the balloon, and the bubble popped. And it all fizzled out, but it was a good learning experience, and it was pretty obvious that like whatever the next cycle would be, like I needed to be prepared for that, right? I needed to kind of be prepared. But in that meantime, Bitcoin was still perfectly useful as a means of transferring money from sportsbook to sportsbook, settling debts between people who you are working with in the space. It is still extremely useful for that. We'll get into some personal stories and examples, but I use it weekly to settle debts with folks in the space, and it is excellent. And the 1 year ago, as we're entering the pandemic, and we're talking about Bitcoin for sports betting and its utility, and we're kind of describing some of the basics. And just as a broad recap, the basics are: you can on-ramp wherever you feel like it. Nowadays, you can on-ramp at Cash App. You can on-ramp at PayPal, probably. I don't know.
I don't know if you can buy, you can store, or you can receive. So
I don't even know.
I'll double check into that. But I'm not sure you
whatever
can
the
convert,
case is.
but
Coinbase was the only place back in the day I knew how to on-ramp, but you could change your USD for BTC at Coinbase. And then the key was you really wanted to move it to a wallet where you had the custody of the keys. And then this intermediate hub that is your wallet, you needed to know what the private keys were. You wrote them down on paper. You didn't save it in a text file that could get hacked. You didn't save it. You didn't forget about those. You write them down on paper and keep them somewhere safe. And then that is your intermediary hub where you send, you withdraw from the books to your hub, send from the hub to Coinbase if you wanted to sell for dollars or wherever. And it was a perfect kind of, system to operate for a handful of years there. Okay. In the most recent run up, March of last year, we're getting close to the halving, right? Which is a supply shock of newly minted Bitcoin. The halvening, a supply shock for newly minted Bitcoins, which means just like we are participants in this ecosystem where we want to use this digital currency to settle debts and obligations, to basically buy USD at a sports book and take USD out. We're using it as a means of exchange for a lot of these propositions. A lot of other people are also. In fact, it's now a 1 year ago, it's still now like a multi-$100 billion ecosystem of people who need and want Bitcoin to exchange and do financial transactions. The new supply gets cut in half. That was the entirety of the happening. Everyone at the time was promoting what they understood to be a stock to flow model that suggested when you cut new supply in half, you have supply shock. And if there's the same amount of participation or even growing participation, but you have half as much new supply being added to circulation, then price goes up. So that's simple. And then to add to that, we're going through the pandemic. The government's just printing money. There's all of this, like macroeconomic, like, the world's going to hell. Like, it seemed like the absolute perfect storm to be more involved in Bitcoin. And I got as involved as I possibly could be last year. And it has been to the tune of close to life changing sort of money. And in fact, my entire like perspective on sports betting over this last year was only in Bitcoin, or mostly in Bitcoin. And the whole goal of winning bets is accumulating more Bitcoin. That was my entire perspective going back a year. And it has worked out phenomenally well. But now that we are getting into this kind of rare air here in terms of Bitcoin price, I want to play defense a little bit. Does that make sense? I'm not comfortable just being a holder and holding till the death here. I want to play a little bit of defense. I need to understand a little bit better what to do with this, right? Is this something I can spend? Not really. Is this something that you can get out into cash? Do I want to get out into cash? Do you want, what can you do with it? Is it going to keep going up? What is happening, right? Like these are all things that you're wondering once you're in this.
Well, yeah, even last March, there's just so much. There's so many things going on, and I don't know how deep. I don't want to get too deep into this because some of it is just, it's very droll and honestly, like dry. I would a better word for it, but like a lot of the things we didn't understand when the halving, and if anybody doesn't understand the halving, it's just the reward was cut in half. So I mean, the absolute step one, A1 basics of it is you have your computer figure out a complicated math problem and you get rewarded with a fractional bit of this cryptocurrency. And at the halving, that was cut in half. It's happened several times. It'll happen again until it goes and there's no more. And we had some ideas. There was a lot of articles. There was a lot of talk. There was a lot of people we talked to about how that was going to affect the economics of it. And it's not a normal economy, compared to how the economists of today have learned economics over the last 500 years, going back to some of the first trades they were making on the other side of the pond. And it's so completely different that traditional economists were all over the map. And then we really didn't know what the miners were doing. Like there's some miner supply issues and miner hoarding issues, and there's some weird stuff there that I don't fully even still understand that affected the price. So like the price didn't do what everyone said it was going to do right away. And I mean, that created more skepticism. And eventually there's just so much about this that's in the dark that I think you can only know so much. But I do believe there's just some of the podcasts you've recommended and some of the stuff we found, like there's more and more good resources on it now than there were even like a year. I mean, think about where you were getting your information on crypto like a year ago. I mean, there's a few decent Twitter accounts and that was that. Now there's some actual voices that we trust and will listen to and take some credence with their words. Cause like,
absolutely,
honestly, last March, I just bought some because it was like, oh, it's like 4,000. Like, probably goes up 20 again, right?
Sure.
God, that was like my entire thought process. Like I didn't know shit. I still don't know that much, but
okay. So let's talk about the run up and what was going on there. I think it's pretty clear. This is supply shock. It's pretty clear that this is it's pretty clear that cryptocurrency in general and digital money in general is the future of finance broadly, in my opinion. Look no further than last week, the Fed chair, Janet Yellen, says, well, Bitcoin isn't efficient. And then literally later that week, the Fed monetary transmission instruments all failed. and no one could do a transaction with the Fed globally. And that doesn't happen with Bitcoin. It doesn't because it's a decentralized system. There is no central government that has to have everything pipes working in order to get a transaction done. In today's environment, if you have, you can have a wallet on your phone with a small amount of Bitcoin in it, send it to a friend and transactions will be finalized in 10 minutes, but picked up between the wallets in like 30 seconds. It's crazy efficient. And, there's no middleman, which means there's no bank with sticky fingers. There's no, there's no border that has to go across if you're trying to send money internationally, right? Like this is a very, very high utility system right now, and it's very resilient.
You commit crimes, but
it's very resilient to government seizure. It's very resilient to everything. Like it's been designed to be resilient to attacks from government specifically, but from any negative players in the space. And so it is, in my opinion, for sure, a game changer in terms of digital financial systems. Everyone's figuring that out at the same time, which means demand is exceptionally high. And it is pretty clear and pretty obvious that there are institutional level players, banks, and major corporations that see investment opportunities in something like Bitcoin and are buying and accumulating a reserve so that they can be part of the ecosystem and capture some of this utility. Okay. And this was pretty clear and started in the fourth quarter really probably started in like summer last year. It got really serious in the fourth quarter of 2020. Now it's carried into 2021, and there's probably some retail lag because people see the price go up and they're like, oh my God, I got to get back on Coinbase and buy some of this. And it takes a while to figure it all out. And, maybe, you got to go find your wallet from 4 years ago and figure out the password and remember all that. And, there was a lag and that's for sure caused a bit of a delay in terms of retail showing up, but it surely did. And that kind of pumped the price up from 40 to 50 or almost 60. Right. And then there was massive drawdown last week, which was healthy for the ecosystem overall because it wiped out, accounts that were over levered. And it reduced funding rates. It helped reset, people who realistically needed to take profits and clear the books. And futures contracts got squared with the CME. And overall, the ecosystem is extremely healthy right now. And like the long-term bull cycle, maximalists out there are looking to be proven right. As far as I can tell you, I think this will continue to grow. I think 2021 is going to be an absolutely ridiculous year. And then beyond that, who knows if it continues to go up much more until the next halving, or if it reaches some sort of equilibrium. But, the opportunity is still pretty decent, I think, for it to 2x, 4x maybe. And I'm inclined at this point to just be prepared to kind of defend it when there are massive drawdowns, which there will be, which there should be in a healthy ecosystem. Like it shouldn't just go up only. It should have weeks where there's a drawdown, where there's a correction. Otherwise, it gets overheated to the tune of institutions just stop participating at all, and then demand starts to dry up, and then then you have instead, if you can have a couple of 30% corrections, or you can have 160% correction. You know what I mean?
Do you want a nice smooth? If you look at a longer chart, a nice smooth uptick or a GameStop.
Yeah,
you don't want a GameStop where it's like, oh, this meteoric, and then the drawbacks are meteoric, and you don't need that.
You can't do with GameStop stock. You can't settle debts. You can't fund a sports book. You can't really do anything with it. In fact,
can't even buy Nintendo games with it.
No, you can't. You can't do much with BTC right now, but you can do a lot more than you could do 4 years ago. In fact, I was blown away at some of the new applications that you can use BTC for right now. But you can spend BTC effectively at Amazon. Through many applications out there, we'll send you Amazon gift cards, $100 a pop, whatever you want, in exchange for $100 worth of BTC, which, is wild to me that you can actually effectively spend this now, however you feel like it. I have a Lightning wallet now on my phone, which is something they promised back in 2017 that I thought was a pipe dream. No, it's not just a pipe dream now. It's on my phone. If I go to a place that has Lightning wallet capability, I can pay with Bitcoin on that second layer, and it is smooth as can be. It's incredible. So they really have done a spectacular job kind of meeting the promise of the space from the last real serious bull cycle. And so now here we are in cycle part 2, and it's complicated, and the players are smarter, and the institutions are in the water. So now we're swimming with the sharks, but I do still think this is, has a lot of opportunity to grow. And like I was saying, there's, again, the name of the game is accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. Well, now that the price is what it is, getting 1-2 Bitcoin, that's tough to do sports betting unless lots of places with lots of outs and you can get down 50K at a time.
Or who the first kicker is going to be.
Or if you know who the first kicker is going to be. Hat tip to Joe Kanish, of course. But in reality, like I recognized for whatever reason, I needed to be prepared to protect the USD gained at this point, which means, if it looks like we're at a frothy top, an overheated price, what do I do? Right? I can put on a short and kind of keep my position neutral. I can exchange it for stable coins, USD or Tether. I can, but the key and some of the hard things I learned were like how to avoid a taxable event, how to move money into exchanges and which exchanges were good and bad and why. It's been a learning experience, and I think all of that would be valuable to other folks who are probably in the same situation. And even, there's nuances now too, like a lot of people who were into altcoins back in the day were absolute garbage trash. You had Bitcoin, which had all of the future store of value promise in the world. You had Ether, which was like, yeah, if they can figure this out, this might be interesting, maybe great. And then you had a dozen or 200 other piece of shit coins that did nothing and were speculative assets and or scams and or solving a problem that didn't exist. All manner of trash out there. And as we came back into this cycle, this bull cycle, and what happens is Bitcoin rips, and then the associated other coins tend to follow because people will put their Bitcoin on the they'll move it to an exchange and they'll start trading it, hoping to accumulate more Bitcoin by the price of the altcoins going up. That's the name of the game when you're flipping shit coins. And the hot ones this cycle have been what? DeFi coins, right? What is DeFi? Can you hazard a guess for me, Andy?
I'm not good at this part. I'm gonna bungle this. I'm gonna let you. This is your episode. I'm gonna because you can hear how excited you are. Like you sound like an infomercial right now. You're just so pumped about the product. No, you explain it better than I do. So, but I mean, knowing what DeFi coins are and which ones to get into has been helpful in accumulating more Bitcoin.
Sure. Oh yeah, that's absolutely true. But the reason it's a hot topic and the reason that I even bring it up is like, okay, let's say you were early with Bitcoin. Let's say you did hold through the last cycle and now you have 10 or 20 or 50 in your wallet. What do you do with that? You want to buy a house? You want to buy some land?
Go read Kieran's Twitter thread about how to will it. And honestly, like,
yes,
serious.
Absolutely.
Zach Morris timeout. That's the thing. Like, you buy a Maserati, it's sitting in the garage. Like, there are probate lawyers. Even if you don't have a will, they're going to figure out how to give that to your kid or your wife or whatever. It becomes their property because they can see, oh, there's a car, and he bought it. His name is on the title. He is deceased. that becomes the next of kin's property. Whereas this is a little, I don't want to say dodgy is not the right word, because there's nothing, you're not doing anything illegal. It's just, this is much less visible to
the
just
barrier
the
of
naked.
entry is
Yeah,
harder.
you're not, your probate lawyer isn't going to walk into the house, look at your computer that's turned off and be like, yeah, there's definitely some wallets in there. Or maybe or even if they were to find a physical wallet, a hardware wallet, the obviously the barrier to entry is less than just, oh, we got to figure out his password. There's a lot going on there. So I mean, you guys and some people, whatever, there's some people who shat on Mr. Kieran over the years, but we still like the guy a lot, and he's very smart. And Barry Horse, he went and put a thread up on Twitter, a week or two ago, about and some very good resources for how to put this sort of stuff in your, because I don't care if you're 30, you get hit by a bus tomorrow. Like, do you want that stuff to disappear, or do you want someone to have it? Someone you love, someone that it's B, it's the latter. So go check that out. We won't get too deep into that because I'm not an expert on that either, but it really did open the eyes, because like you said, your house, your car, your possessions, that's easy enough for someone to find and figure out how to pass that on. This is a little, there's a couple extra steps here. So take those, even, I want to say, we mentioned this podcast the other day when we talked to Mr. Trenhale, but I feel like Hagrin might have touched on that as well. When he talked to, I think
Hagrin,
he talked about, like,
said something in that podcast that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Hagrin talks about some stuff in that podcast that blew my mind, which was basically like how you create a synthetic risk-free position by shorting here and longing here, and you doing this stuff where you can absolutely protect yourself from some of the volatile price swings. Right. And I went through and I've been practicing this, because I feel like because really like right now at 50K, like, it's a lot of money. Like, there's no doubt about that. Like a lot of people have a lot of money right now, and we're going to get into what the hell people are doing with this and what that means for NFTs, which is basically the entire ball game, in my opinion. But, a lot of people have a lot of money right now, and protecting it at 50K is good and important, but wait till it gets to like 100 or 200, right? Like, wait until this is like, we're talking about like a serious advantage over USD, and what do people do with it then? Because guess what? Like, we're in 1996 internet time frame, relativity wise, in terms of who is utilizing this and how much is being utilized and what products are layered onto it in terms of usefulness. Like, it is going to grow, and it is going to grow fast. It's going to go faster than the internet, because the network effects of banks having lived through the internet bubble once, and I'm not going to get caught next time Amazon rolls around and there's something that can do X, Y, or Z that's going to be, massively, profitable here over the next 20 years, right? Like, there's going to be a faster adoption. It's going to be more violent, and protecting it when we start getting into just bonkers banana land dollars is going to be important. And so that's most of what I've spent this last month doing in my free time, to be honest, is just practicing like how to set up synthetic positions and stuff, and just, protecting it from, huge drawdowns. Because there's, you want to feel there's, in the same way that I remember taking a Bovada account from $500 to $4,000 and then losing it all, and the sick feeling in your stomach seeing the 4,000 go to zero, right? Well, yeah, multiply that times a couple hundred, and see how that feels, if things go sideways at some point, right? Or who knows. So yeah, the idea of,
and it's funny, some of these drawdowns don't even feel that big. Like, if you think about the size of this recent, maybe it's because where it nestled is still so much higher than, where we were a year ago, but a drawdown from like 58 to 45, essentially, like, that's actually kind of massive. And it didn't hit the same, because I don't know why it didn't hit the same. I guess maybe psychological, that 45 is still pretty good, all things considered, long term. But the fact is, drawdowns like that a year or two from now might be of the same percentage and just massive. You could be talking like, in the course of several days, going down in value 20, 30,000 US dollars. Oh, I got a bellyache.
Oh yeah, an idea that it could go from 20 to 150, 200K to 150. That's entirely reasonable. We've seen that from 200 to 150. It could go from 200K to 150K. Like that's how it's a young market. It's a young product. The maturity is maybe decades away. And some of the volatility is being, ameliorated by the futures products and the derivatives, et cetera, but it's still volatile as hell. And being able to protect it once we're at a top, basically, I want it to be able to be prepared. How do I sell the top? That's all I really care about. Like, I don't want to be, caught with my pants down thinking about, man, if I had just sold the top, I would have blank, right? And
when top.
Yeah. One top. But so here's the thing. You can sell the top by literally cashing it out of Coinbase and putting those US dollars in your bank account. I don't know that that's a most effective way to do it. I don't think it's an efficient way to do it. I think you pay a lot of taxes that way. And I think, you're probably going to end up buying back in at some point anyway. So why bother? Right. But what you have now, if you have 5, 10, if you have one Bitcoin and you want to, let's say you have one, let's say during the entirety of the doldrums, the bear cycle, you were just putting away $50 at a time a week, $50 a week. You built up until you had $3,000 worth, and you bought a Bitcoin at the bottom. And now you have one, and now it's worth 50 grand, right? You shouldn't have to sell that in order to realize value out of that. That's the whole point. You should be able to borrow against that one Bitcoin. And that's where DeFi comes in. DeFi legitimately is decentralized finance, where if you walk into a bank and you're like, you hold up your electronic wallet, you're like, hey, I got one Bitcoin. Can you give me a loan? They're going to laugh at you. They don't know what the fuck to do. They have no freaking clue how this space works. In fact, if they're not at the very forefront, of even being able to on-ramp, it's not the on-ramps. People don't realize this. The on-ramps are still very, very slow and immature, and the fees are high, and it's not easy if you're an institution just to go buy a bunch of reserve on Bitcoin. But if you have some in your hand and you want to borrow against it, you can set up a contract on Aave, on any of these DeFi platforms, where you effectively lock up that Bitcoin as collateral. You're not selling it. You're just sitting it there, and it becomes the loan. The contract becomes a loan instrument where it's the collateral as part of a loan instrument, so you can get the cash to go buy a car, or to buy a condo, or to buy whatever in your would improve your life. You can now use that Bitcoin as collateral. You don't have to sell it, which means if the value of the Bitcoin keeps going up, you can capture some of that value, assuming you're making your loan payments, right? Which presumably you can if you've got Bitcoin in the first place, right? And so this idea of, I have this thing that's worth a lot. What do I do with it? DeFi solves the problem of, well, you can lend and borrow against that now.
Yes.
Okay. If you're like, look, man, I don't want to get risky here. I'm not ever going to sell this. I just want to put it, I have it sitting on a cold storage wallet. I just want to, I don't mind loaning it out to someone, and I'll make 8% return. That's more than I'm getting on my savings account with just US dollars sitting in my savings account.
What's the highest percentage savings account out there?
I don't personally see that as in some places in Europe, it's negative. You're paying to have money in the bank.
Yeah, I mean, even CDs. I mean, I remember when I was little, like a CD. You'd see the CD rates when you walked into the bank with your mom, and thinking about how high those numbers are now, it's just hilarious. Or even what my savings account, what the percentage one was when I was a young child. Like, I had a savings account that I put money in, and it collected interest. Like the fact that, I mean, banks, some of them they don't even we're not even going to give you the piss and tell you this is an interest-bearing account, because it's silly how low the number is. It is what it is. Here's a koozie.
And the reality is, you're their customer, and they're charging you for your checking account and for some transaction fees, ATM fees. You're paying a decent amount to be banked. I guarantee you, in your life, if you're a gainfully employed, or even just getting out into the world from high school, college, you're paying to be banked. Period. And Bitcoin in general it was designed to help people step away from that. And so the DeFi products exist effectively to to be able to facilitate borrowing and lending with whatever you have. And that's going to grow extremely fast as well. And
I mean, back to your point about the banks, like,
yeah,
I guess to kind of close it, like your estimate on, because you're right, the banks will not get their dicks caught in the elevator door this time around. Like they are going to be faster to adopt, but it's still a ways off. But eventually, this will be a thing. Like you will be able to use, it will be just a different asset class that you can borrow against. Just like anything else you could put up for collateral.
100%.
Not right now. You can't go to
your grandfather's
right now.
grandfather's silver coin collection. You want to borrow against that? You can do that at some banks. This will be the same sort of thing, except that there's not a middleman that you're paying fees to. That there's not, it's all locked up in smart contracts, and it's going to be the future of a lot of borrowing and lending in this country. And literally, like, your time is more well spent like in investigating these things yourself and trying them out, trying different platforms, trying to figure out for yourself, moving money, just small amounts, move it here and there, open, wallets, try exchanges, try things just to get a feel for what is good and useful and what is nonsense. That's absolutely the most valuable advice I can give anyone on this, which is, and maybe the only other valuable advice I could think of is that, like, figure out a way to get paid to do this, because there are ways. And if you're looking for this, if you're seeing this as like the early days of the .com industry, and you're like, I want to get involved, but I don't have capital to speculate on what DeFi product is eventually going to be the long-term winner. Like, just getting into forums, just getting involved at the ground level and getting paid to participate via small stakes in some of these projects is eventually going to, be a valuable way to understand it better and be in the ground floor. A couple other points of like the mega bull sort of mentality that I'm living through right now. We mentioned already that it's still hard to on-ramp. Like, it's still tough. And one day it's going to be easy. Okay. It's hard to use a DeFi product. One day it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
There are a small fraction of people using this in day-to-day life. One day there will be a lot.
I mean, even just think about the basic purchase of the core, the Bitcoin, like how difficult that process would have been like 3 years ago for, average anyone, even me. Like I said, my first Bitcoin was purchased by cashing out of a sports book. That's how I did it. Like, oh, now I own it because I turned money into it in a goofy kind of way. Like that was the only way I could have figured it out, I guess. Coinbase was there, but Coinbase has become what Coinbase has become. And I mean, the progression of how easy it is to on-ramp now there is going to just trickle down to everything else.
And really, the thing, not to especially trash Coinbase, because I've been a customer there for a long time, and they've always, after the first couple of interactions there, where they kind of, throttle your limits, eventually it was like, okay, this is a good product for me now. But realistically, it serves a different master now. It's not for me and you to on ramp for Bitcoin. It's for the millionaire billionaire class to on ramp to Bitcoin. And that's their clientele now. Like, they're helping institutions, they're helping banks figure out how to get their hands on it. And in fact, they're not really interested in our business anymore. And the smaller the transactions actually don't really suit their business model very much.
Look at their fee structure.
Their fee structure would tell you that. So
same thing with Cash App. Like, go
same thing with Cash App. Yeah. And all of the other ones that are better suited for retail investors, the lines now to actually participate are long, because everybody's trying, it's a bottleneck, like, these are young platforms that are going to take a while to really mature to where everyone can participate without long wait times, so I guess what I'm saying is, I think there's a huge bull case left in that the demand, I don't even think we know how high it really is. And supply is continuing to go down. Coinbase makes these massive purchases for institutions, and they are sucking coins off of the exchanges doing it. And then they go into cold storage, they go into reserves. And this is just institutions. We're talking about like a couple of banks on Wall Street. Not every bank in not every bank in Federal Credit Union, not every mutual fund and fixed income retirement has gotten on board with this yet, but someday they may be. And then we're not even talking about the real giga level, which is like sovereign countries deciding that we need a reserve. We need a reserve of this because we can't do the transactions that we need to be able to do without it. And at that point, it's game over, right? And I'm not.
It's like the gold reserves that countries would hold, except there's really no telling how much gold is actually available in the Earth's crust. Like, I'm sure they can have pretty decent guesses. Like, there's an actual finite amount of this, the supply is actually at a set amount. We know where it's at. We know where it's going to be. We know when it's going to be there. And the fact is the supply is likely this, some of this is guessing. The supply is also dwindling due to dead wallets and things of that nature. So
sure.
you know where the supply is headed on this. It's not, and if you get to the point where we get past banks, if you do have governments putting big reserves aside, things are going to be, somebody just cracked me up hard. Musk is going to get the gold from the asteroids. Yeah, maybe. Like, that's legitimately something I'd pay to see. I've watched Armageddon.
It's going to be expensive. But yeah, no, I mean, your points are fair. And the best way to get Bitcoin is probably to buy it from a friend. You invariably you have one friend who is super into it. Talk to them. No, nobody wants to talk to them about Bitcoin. Nobody wants to listen to them talk about it. I guarantee you that. I know that from experience.
Yes,
but if you are that friend that will listen to them and we'll talk to them about it, you can absolutely buy from them. And that's the easiest way to get it, or win it from someone. Make some bets with someone and settle in Bitcoin.
Or whatever the case is, get sixth place in a StarCraft contest 10 years ago.
That's a great way to do it as well. But realistically, do a project for someone and get paid in Bitcoin. Do a little research for someone. Hey, I need this. Yeah, okay, cool. Well, pay me in Bitcoin. Okay, fine. You can set up wallets now on your phone that are outstanding. They have products coming out where you basically are going to be able to have debit cards where you can spend the Bitcoin directly with the debit card. So you're not going through the cash out layer. About 100,000. And change. Where are you?
140.
140. Okay. Yeah. We must have signed up. Oh, I'm at 124. 705.
Bitch.
Yeah.
It feels like, and it's funny. This is a good segue because that number is about what I was in line for NFTs the other day.
For NFTs. Okay, let's talk about NFTs. Here's my opinion on NFTs.
Oh, I messed with my color.
Invariably, the NFT space is the future of all art that is created on the earth.
Maybe not the art. Yeah, maybe these are bubbles. Like maybe not just dunks or kitties or punks, but legitimate art eventually. Yes.
Yeah, this is the future for sure. And the prices and the froth that you're seeing for NFTs now, for Top Shots now, reflect a very specific function, which is there are a lot of young people who have, instead of, because I heard the greatest point made the other day and on the Up Only podcast, that when they were talking to the Three Arrows Capital guy, and I think it was Kobe made this point, and it was freaking brilliant. The younger generation is not interested in going to work for Goldman Sachs and bankers. They're not interested in working for Google. If you're smart, if you're ambitious, if you want to be in the high growth space, you're doing cryptocurrency projects. You're into something like that. And the talent pool now around a lot of these projects is the youngest, smartest, most ambitious people that we're creating and training and teaching. Okay. And a lot of the people that were siphoned off of Googles and the Facebooks and the Apples 4 or 5 years ago into the crypto space made absolutely stupid amounts of money doing this. Like, these people are just like beyond rich and they have nothing to spend their money on. They're not going on trips to Thailand and, spending money on, drugs and hookers or whatever. Like they are just rich beyond their beliefs and with too much money, nothing to spend it on. And right now, in my opinion, the NFT space literally reflects the fact that they want collectibles because my life is now online. My life is digital. Like this is it for me. And this is what I'm into. This is what my friends are into. This is what my peers are into. We're all doing this. Like this is a network effect thing where it's a lot of people with a shitload of money and nothing else to spend it on. And all of this stuff, they see all this as not only just this is digital art, but this is the first digital art. It's original. And in 50 years, when there's much better stuff out there, this will still be valuable because it'll be the
50
first.
years, 50 days next week. And and this is someone we not only who does a lot in this, but he's just fucking hilarious. Is Peter Ovazet, and I clicked on a link of he bought something somewhere. It's all in Ethereum. It's just some art he bought at a different, not CryptoPunks, not CryptoKitties, not NBA Top Shot, but just some digital crypto art. And I went to the site that he bought it on, and I just perused, and it was crazy because some of these things were selling for crazy amounts. But there was some stuff that didn't sell for that much, and I took some screenshots, and I want to go check out what the prices are in like 3 weeks because I think some of the stuff is very speculative. It's going to fly up, and that's where I do think. Somebody put a poll online, and I've seen this poll quote tweeted. I've seen it, sent out. Like it was like, why are you involved in NBA Top Shots? And it was like, I like collecting the moments, or I'm trying to flip cards for a quick buck. And it was like 85% the latter. So I think that is where your point is correct. Your point is. I'm in full agreement that this is the future of art. Art will be, based, I'm going to say non-fungible tokens because I haven't got to say that yet, but this is how things are going to be. It's going to be digital in some which way or the other. And it's going to be, set up in this way where, people say, well, I can just watch that GIF. Well, you don't own it. You still don't own it. It is kind of hard to wrap your head around, but this is where it's headed. And the fact is, I do believe that's why the NBA Top Shot bubble is probably a bubble and why it blew up so fast because it was it. People didn't, most people didn't know about the crypto punks that have existed for a long time, as it turns out. Most people didn't know about all this other art, but every day I'm seeing a different site or a different spot where more and more of this is available. And when more and more of it does become available, I think you're going to see some of these hard bubbles start to pop. So, I mean, this is, and I don't want to tell anyone what to do with their money. And again, not financial advice, but I don't believe that like you hear about the guy that took out a $20,000 loan to buy GameStop when it was like, $300 a share and got set holding the bag. I don't think sitting and buying some of these really expensive, Top Shot moments right now at this exact moment when we're making this is going to be great. All this, all as it was like for some of the real early adopters. And that's the tough part. And I don't want to shit on these people because a lot of them are good guys, but it's when you're seeing some of these early adopters selling a card or a moment, I just keep calling them cards for like, $50,000, something they got out of a pack way back or something they bought for $400 3 months ago. Like it might not be the same experience you're going to have entering at this part of the market. Like I would just do your research, and I would caution from just taking a bunch of money and thinking you're going to get rich quick in the NFT markets. Because there's some I don't want to say collusion, but there's some funny things going on with certain markets in the Top Shot within it that make things look less or more valuable. And there's some canoodling going on amongst some people who have some of the
canoodling
bigger, more expensive moments. So just do your research, take it easy. Don't take a bunch of money and think you're going to get rich right now, because it could end up in more heartbreak than I would look at other art. I would look at a different kind of art instead of just, still get in line or actually don't get in line for packs.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that anymore. It puts viruses on your computer. I heard, don't get in line in front of me.
No, here's my general sense. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. I mean, that definitely goes through to a lot of
I know it
this stuff.
sucks. It
If
sucks
if
because
you
I'd
have
love some
if you
stuff
have
to
to ask if you have to ask, is this a Ponzi scam? It probably is. I mean, there's a lot of that to this. Like, there's a lot of that. Kind of. I don't want to be the last one in the door who's paying up the chain to the guy at the top who's making the most money on this. Like, there's a lot of that. But at the same time, yeah, you're not going to get rich doing this. This is not a get rich quick opportunity, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean that in a long cycle that these aren't. Yeah, it doesn't mean in a long cycle that you are going to be a bag holder. And if you're in the 15% that just likes collecting collectible moments, like, good on you. Like, in fact, wait out this this froth, wait out this bubble, and you can probably get the future of collectible trading cards, which are going to be awesome digital moments. Much, in my opinion, there is potential to make these much cooler than they are ultimately. And you can be on the, ride the second elevator up when they when they release, like, okay, well, we figured out what was good and bad about Gen 1, and now here we're on Gen 2 or Gen 3, and we really got something awesome for you. And, packs are still just, reasonably priced, and you're not on the exchange buying the super rare stuff trying to get rich like that. To me, there is for sure a collectible, there's an audience for this. There's a buyer for these in a chill way without thousands of dollars being exchanged. And there's sharks at the top exchanging these and doing whatever they're doing, and they may be right that long term these are viable financial instruments. I can't tell you. Similarly with the Euler beats, that seemed like a very cool project. Read all about that today, and again, it's set up like a freaking Ponzi, but it also seems very freaking cool. And
I know
it's
that
for sure.
That one made me mad because it's like, I think this might be a scam and some people are going to get rich. People get rich in scams. It's just usually not us. But the thing is, like, that one is such a cool project. Like, I'm almost mad that it might
same.
be
Same.
Yeah.
I'll keep following that one. But the crypto punks, the NFT art, some of the stuff, it does portend the future in terms of digital collectible, stuff. And we're entering a weird time. And the economy is in a weird place, and people aren't traveling. Their interests are all kind of hyper focused to their online life, and the fact that now they are collecting art, music, sports memorabilia in a digital format is entirely the future, predictably the future, really. When it comes down to it. And if you're trying to participate because you're having fun doing it, then all the more power to you. But I'm in the same freaking boat trying to flip shitcoins for more Bitcoin. Like, I'm speculating. I'm betting on stuff that I couldn't even begin to tell you what it does. And the minute it goes down, I go to their platform and I'm like, okay, how do I use this thing? Like, is it even a product? Is it even usable? No. Oh my God, this is a scam. And actually, like, I haven't bought any Top Shots, and it's not because I didn't know how. It's just simply because using the platform gave me a very uneasy feeling, because it felt eons behind the tech that is available otherwise in the cryptocurrency space. And believe me, if you're behind in the tech space, you're in trouble. You're eventually going to get swallowed up past forgotten by someone who's doing it better, faster, cleaner. And
I thought we were gonna do Daft Punk there. It's like a tribute.
Yeah. Yeah. R.I.P. in peace, Daft Punk.
R.I.P. in peace. We miss you guys. That is maybe obviously the two downfalls of Top Shot is their tech sucks so much dick. Like, it's so bad. Like, it's just awful how, and some people have even speculated that they're doing it on purpose to drive the frenzy. Like, oh no, our website's down again. You can't get any cards. Like, guess you'll have to have more FOMO and buy more tomorrow. But, like, legitimately, their tech is a little behind. And then the Dapper thing is way behind, obviously. Like, nobody can. I've been lucky enough to get a couple packs. And honestly, I'm just so scared of it being a stupid bubble that I sold many moments way too soon. Like,
really?
not many moments. Like I've not sold many, but I mean, I got like 2 or 3 packs, and I've sold some stuff that is like right now you could buy it or I could sell it for twice as much what I sold it for. And that sucks. That hurts my heart. But at the same time, it's not, I haven't gotten anything like, oh, it was like a $50,000 moment and now it's 200. Like there's nothing of that magnitude, but it's silly watching some of these ones where I was like, man, I bought like a $9 pack and sold it for X amount of dollars, but now it's 3X of that.
Everything's denominated in USD though, right?
Yeah, everything's so speculative about it that I'm so risk averse to that shit that I just wanted to get rid of them. So I wasn't even being a $9 bag holder at that point.
But you know, by putting money into this, you're also losing out on the opportunity cost of whatever happens to Bitcoin next month.
Oh yeah, that's why I didn't put very much in. Like there's some people that have gone all in and done very well. I know someone who's, you know, people have done 30, 50x of what they put in. And that's, I don't think they're going to, you know, be too hard feelings about if Bitcoin goes up to 60 or 80 next month.
Oh, no.
Like they still, you know, they did all right. And what, you know, for what I put in, I'm fine. I'm happy. But I would love at some point to actually be able to take those US dollars, turn them into, you know, whatever, and move them over into a wallet to buy some actual crypto or do something with it.
Okay. So in summary, I'm massively, like impossibly bullish on all of this stuff, but not actually participating in the Top Shots or any of the actual NFTs yet. And I don't actually think I'm going to have FOMO at all, to be honest with you. But,
no, it's like I've seen some people get rich on this, and it's like, yeah, you needed to be real early and get a lot of these back when nobody, like when you get in line, it's silly. Like the last pack was a $99 pack rather than 9 or 14. And I thought, oh, maybe there'll be fewer people to get in line because like they don't want to spend that kind of money on it. There was twice as many.
Of course. Yeah.
Because they know that if
hat tip to them. Hat tip to them for figuring out something that could go this like obscenely viral this fast. Like very, very cool of them to do this. And cap tip to them for introducing people to the cryptocurrency space. Like people get into this space in weird, wild ways. And if it's for your entertainment value, for music or sports, hallelujah. Like you're making the conversion. Like literally it's the same kind of idea of, well, I got the internet in 1996 and I was logging on dial up through Prodigy so that I could go on these forums and talk about my sports team. Like that's a lot of how. Like I needed to
look up cheats for Warcraft, the original.
I needed to go look at video game stuff. I wanted to chat with my friends and do all this stuff online, so I had to do it. And that was like the first wave of people introducing our generation to the internet and using it in a daily manner. And it all blew up from there to what it is today as a completely integral part of your life. And similarly, this is getting people into this idea of, well, what is this? What is ownership? What is tokenomics? What is any of this? And they're doing it through through something that people are passionate about, be it sports or music or art. So it's very, very cool. Mega bullish on all of this.
I might have to. I might just buy some art tonight.
Here's the other reason I'm not NFT participating. I'm no longer a cultural tastemaker. I'm too fucking old. In fact, what interests me about this space is like, how do I use Aave to, lend and borrow, right? Like I'm more interested in like playing around with like the future financial instrument side of cryptocurrency than much more so than I am the art and entertainment side. But that's fine. That is totally fine, and I guess we'll just wrap up here with don't trade on leverage. We're in a bull market. Price is going up. Just chill the fuck out. Don't trade on leverage. Number 2, don't expect to, any of this to be get rich fast. It's all a long growth cycle. You have the entirety of 2021 to see how this plays out, see what happens with adoption. Realistically, we're not going to get to full saturation on this till 2024 or 2028. So we are a long way away. It's never too late to get involved because this is legitimately, literally, asking if it's too late to get involved in Bitcoin right now is like saying in 1996, like, is it too late to get on the internet? Like, did I miss I missed
Did I miss the
I guess.
internet?
Did I miss
Oh
it?
man, I missed the ARPANET. I missed Gopher. I missed file transfer protocol. Like, could it get better than this?
And honestly, like the game changer for the internet and really for just computers and operating systems was like the graphical interface, the GUI was like, once those started getting good and people could actually use them, then it was like, oh shit, now game on, right? We're not there yet.
Honestly, like Windows 95, like
Yeah,
just
exactly.
making the home computer easy to use was massive, and then obviously like upgrading
100%.
from like as shit as it. It's funny, like I would just spit on myself, my old self, for using like Microsoft Explorer. But
Sure.
I mean, a good web browser was something that was definitely in demand back then.
Yeah, it was. But now,
I'm gonna
now
buy
that
some
they're,
art.
and we're not there. We're not there yet with a lot of these products for cryptocurrency space. Right now, the number one thing people are doing with it is trading it. They're just, it's all just trading it and speculating on what will be future financial products and goods and services that we can extract value out of this space with. It's all it is right now. So you have a long way to go to really, get in on the ground floor with this stuff. All right, man. Is that good enough? Should we wrap here?
Yeah, I think so. And if you have questions,
we should do a Q&A. We should do a Q&A at some point and just like, hey, whatever you want to know, we'll give you our best advice.
Do you remember the Netscape browser when you would hit go or whatever and the stars would shoot across the end?
Of course, yeah. Netscape is insane. Yes, the first time I used Netscape, I was like, how do I get this on my home? I used it at school, I think. And I was like, how do I get Netscape at home?
I know.
I was like, can I steal it? Can I put it on a disk and take it home? And I think I dragged the icon onto like a floppy disk and took it home and then tried to move it on my computer. I was like, it didn't work. I don't have Netscape. I really want it here at home.
My home computer had Windows 3.1, which meant like I just played on DOS. Sure. And I remember like getting like it's crazy if you weren't around, like what a big deal Windows 95 was. Like when it's like, oh my God, this computer just got so easy to use. Like there's programs are just right. All my programs are right here. You're not like trying to figure out how to navigate around your computer. Again, honestly, the internet was always going to succeed, I believe.
Okay,
let's fucking internet.
Let's put an open call out for like, please give us feedback on this episode. If you want none of this ever again, we will never talk about it again. If you want more of this or a Q&A where you can ask questions, because I'm sure a million people,
the people who
really
don't want this didn't make it this far.
Well, yeah, that's fine. I mean,
that's fair.
It's an evergreen podcast, but yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, if you have Q&A, if you want us to entertain,
we'll do a live stream some night.
Andy, and seriously, Andy, you too. Like, I know you definitely want to know what to do with Bitcoin, right? Like, there's not a lot of ways you can spend it right now, which is partly artificially propping the price up. No one's selling it because you can't really fucking spend it yet. But like that will come eventually too. And in fact, that's probably what will take the top off of this bull cycle was when people can like, oh, I can buy a house finally. Thank you.
You know who should do it? That Carvana. The people that just like deliver the car to your house.
Why not?
That's
Seriously.
the perfect one for it, because like the kind of people who would order a car to be delivered to their house and take their old car away, they own crypto.
Dude, literally the
Carvana people call me.
Companies, the tech companies, the innovators who are trying to disrupt and win right now in this next decade, in the 2020s, the companies that will win are the companies that will integrate and start utilizing cryptocurrency the fastest. I think that is a very sound prediction. And in fact, if you're a legacy investor and you're just looking for on-ramps to cryptocurrency exposure, find out what companies are going, are exploring and using this. I don't know that Carvana is. This is obviously not a Carvana commercial, but if someone, if you find someone
Carvana
like
commercials?
No, I don't know that they're involved in cryptocurrency though.
No, I'm saying the kind of people who would order a car to their house.
Of course,
I know they're early adopters enough in that. You know what I'm saying? They're the kind of people that would be an early adopter into that. They're the kind of people that they probably have some crypto punks.
I see.
That's a great point. They sold a crypto punk to buy an Altima.
That's a great point. And you can. In fact, you can probably buy several Altimas with a crypto punk at this point. All right, man. I'll let you go. This was a fun conversation. Again, if there's interest in us talking more about this, just Just send up the flag.
We could do like a
Just
Friday
flare.
night live stream.
Live
That'd be fun
stream,
to talk
answer
to
to
people.
Q&A. Yeah, that'd be fun. All right, man. Let's end it. I'm gonna hit the music. Best of luck to you this week. I don't know what we're gonna do Wednesday. I'm gonna be up skiing. I might not be available. Might need to either.
We can
postpone
do
that
something
one.
at a different. We can do something tomorrow. We can do something
Friday.
early.
Let's just do let's plan on a Q&A Friday afternoon. How about that?
We'll do a Friday. We'll do a Friday episode. Where are you going?
Okay.
Mammoth.
Mammoth. Yeah.
Always.
Literally, I just want to figure out how to use Aave to buy a fucking ski house in Mammoth. Is it that hard? It shouldn't be that hard, you know?
No.
It shouldn't be that hard. I'll figure it out eventually. And then if you want advice on how to use your Bitcoin to facilitate financial transactions, I'll have had that experience. So that's what I'm hoping for, at least. All right, man, I'm going to hit the music. Best of luck.
I just DM'd you some art that I might buy.
Ooh, nice. I wasn't kidding. I legit, like, my point of view now, after accumulating as much Bitcoin as I could last year, I want to figure out how to buy a house in Mammoth with it. We have a deep dive.
Why
ski
wouldn't
party
you buy
next year.
this? Why wouldn't you buy Laser Eyes Elon?
Why that instead of that? Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. I've just been looking at this OpenSea website.